What if the item you order every single week at Greg's is actually the one thing you should never touch again? Somewhere on that menu, hiding behind a friendly smile and a low price tag, sits a list of products that even the people who bake them quietly avoid eating themselves. Before we get into it, if you want more videos like this, ones that actually tell you the truth about the food you eat every single day, hit that subscribe button right now, tap the like, and send this to the one friend who eats Greg's for lunch almost every day. They need to see this before their next visit. Greg's feels like a national comfort. It sits on nearly every high street, tucked into train stations, shopping strips, motorway services, and city centers across the whole country. People trust it because it feels familiar. It feels safe. It feels like the kind of bakery your grandmother might have walked into decades ago, back when a pastry meant something simple and honest. But familiarity is not the same thing as quality, and comfort is not the same thing as honesty. A brand can feel warm and reassuring on the outside, while the reality inside the pastry tells a completely different story. Millions of people walk into a Greg's every single day without ever asking one simple question. What is actually in this? Not what the poster behind the till says, not what the smell drifting from the warmer suggests, but what is genuinely sitting inside that pastry before it lands in your hand. Today, we are going to answer that question properly. We are going to walk through 5 specific items on the Greg's menu that deserve a second thought before you order them again. And the reasons behind each one might genuinely surprise you. This is not about attacking a brand that millions of people love. It is about understanding exactly what you are putting into your body every time you grab something quick on your lunch break. Because once you know the truth, you cannot unknow it. And once you see it clearly, it changes the way you look at that entire menu board forever. Think about how you actually choose what to eat at a place like this. Most of us are not reading nutrition panels while standing in a queue with people behind us waiting for their turn. We are reacting to smell, to color, to the warmth coming off the tray, to a habit built up over years of walking past the same shop front on the way to work. That is exactly how a business built on speed and convenience is designed to work. Decisions get made in seconds, not minutes, and the less time you spend thinking, the less likely you are to ask the one question that actually matters. So today, we're going to slow that moment down for you, one item at a time, so the next decision you make in that queue is genuinely your own. Let's start with number 5, and it happens to be one of the most popular items across the whole chain, the chicken bake. On the surface, it sounds wholesome. Chicken, a light golden pastry, maybe a few vegetables mixed through the filling. That is the picture painted by the packaging, the smell coming from the warmer, and the cheerful photo on the menu board above the till. The reality tucked inside that pastry case tells a very different story. The filling inside a typical chicken bake is mostly a thick, starchy white sauce, bulked out with modified starch, stabilizers, and thickening agents, with small pieces of reformed chicken scattered through the mixture. This is not a chicken breast that was cooked whole and sliced onto your plate. It is a blend of chicken pieces bound together using additives, so the filling holds its shape after being frozen, shipped, stored, and reheated across hundreds of stores at once. The texture is engineered for consistency, not for the way real chicken naturally behaves when it is cooked. Nutritionally, this item ranks among the saltiest and fattiest things you can order from that entire counter. A single chicken bake can carry close to 2 grams of salt and well over 15 grams of fat, with a meaningful chunk of that being saturated fat. That is before you have added a drink, a side, or anything else to your order. Health authorities recommend that adults keep their daily salt intake under 6 grams total. One pastry alone can already burn through nearly a third of that entire daily number, and most people do not even register it as a heavy meal. It feels light, it feels like a quick snack between meetings, but the numbers hiding underneath tell an entirely different story than the one your taste buds are picking up on. And here's the part that catches most people off guard. Because the chicken bake is marketed almost like a healthier alternative to the sweeter pastries sitting next to it, people genuinely believe they are making the responsible choice when they pick it. Parents grab it for their kids, assuming chicken automatically means better. Office workers choose it over a sausage roll, thinking they are cutting back. In reality, gram for gram, it often sits right alongside the items it is supposed to be the lighter option compared to. That mismatch between perception and reality is exactly why it earns a spot on this list. Number 4 on our list is the festive bake, the seasonal favorite that people genuinely queue up for every single winter. It has built an almost cult following online, with people filming themselves the moment it returns to shelves each year, treating its arrival like a small national event. But strip away all of that hype and look closely at what is actually happening inside that golden pastry case, and the picture changes fast. The festive bake combines pastry, a creamy sauce, stuffing, bacon, and pieces of turkey, all sealed together inside a crisp golden shell. It sounds indulgent, and it absolutely is, but not necessarily in a good way. This single item can carry more than 2 grams of salt and close to 20 grams of fat, with roughly half of that total being saturated fat. In other words, one seasonal snack can use up almost your entire daily saturated fat allowance in a single sitting, before lunch has even properly started. Because it feels festive, because it feels like a treat you're only allowed to enjoy once a year, people tend to pair it with other indulgent items on the side. A hot chocolate loaded with syrup, a sweet pastry for later, maybe something fried from somewhere else entirely. The emotional marketing wrapped around this one product is powerful enough that people quietly ignore what it is actually doing inside their bodies while they eat it. It is engineered to feel like nostalgia and tradition, but nutritionally speaking, it behaves far more like a heavy fast food meal squeezed into a pastry shell than anything resembling a light seasonal snack. There's also something worth noticing in how limited availability changes our judgment. When something is only around for a few weeks a year, our brains treat it differently. We give ourselves permission to stop asking questions about it, because it feels rare, special, and temporary. But your body does not know the difference between a seasonal treat and a daily one. The salt still counts, the saturated fat still counts. The only difference is that the marketing around this particular item is doing an even better job of making you forget to check. If you're already starting to notice a pattern forming here, you're exactly right, and we still have 3 more items left to cover, including one that might be sitting in your fridge or your bag right now. Before we continue any further, do me a quick favor. Drop a comment below telling me which item you eat the most. I genuinely want to see how many of you end up changing your usual order after watching the rest of this video. Number 3 on our list brings us to the sausage, bean, and cheese melt, a favorite for people looking for something a little heartier during the colder months of the year. This item looks warm, hearty, and filling, which is exactly the trap built into it. Sausage, beans, melted cheese, all wrapped together inside warm, flaky pastry. It reads, on the surface, like a balanced meal, but when you break down what is genuinely inside, the picture shifts fast. This single product can contain close to 3 grams of salt, almost half of your entire recommended daily intake. Add in the saturated fat coming from both the sausage and the melted cheese, and you're looking at a combination that hits 2 of the biggest nutritional warning markers, salt and saturated fat. The beans do add a small nutritional benefit, a touch of fiber, a little extra protein, but it is nowhere near enough to meaningfully balance out everything else packed inside that pastry. Although what makes this particular item worth flagging is how it tends to be marketed and perceived. It often gets positioned as the filling, satisfying choice for someone who wants more substance than a plain pastry offers. But satisfying and healthy are 2 completely different things. And treating them as interchangeable is exactly how so many people end up misjudging what they are actually eating. This is a product built for taste, warmth, and convenience, not for nutritional balance. And there is nothing inherently wrong with that as long as you know what you are choosing before you order it. The real problem is that most people simply do not know, because none of this information sits anywhere near the counter or the menu board when you're placing your order. Consider how often this item gets picked as a comfort food choice on a cold, gray day, the kind of day where you want something warm in your hands more than you want to think about ingredients. That emotional pull is real, and there is nothing wrong with wanting comfort. But comfort food sold at this scale, produced this way, is rarely built with your long-term health in mind. It is built to be reheated quickly, to taste consistent every single time, and to keep you coming back on the next cold day too. Number 2 on this list is one that genuinely surprises a lot of people because it looks like the safer option at first glance. The all-day breakfast range, whether that means the roll, the wrap, or the baguette version. People frequently choose breakfast items assuming they are automatically lighter than the sweet pastries or savory bakes. That assumption turns out to be wrong, and it is wrong in a fairly significant way once you actually look at the numbers. A sausage and egg baguette, for example, can carry more than 3.5 grams of salt entirely on its own. That is well over half of your entire daily salt limit, used up before you have even properly started your working day. Pair that with a coffee that has syrup stirred into it, or a hash brown sitting alongside it, and you have already blown straight past what any nutritionist would recommend for an entire full day. The bacon and sausage used across these breakfast items are processed meats, and processed meat is something health organizations have repeatedly flagged for long-term health risk. The reason this particular item lands at number 2 is because of exactly how normal and unremarkable it feels to order. Nobody thinks twice about grabbing a breakfast roll on the way into work each morning. It feels like a mundane, harmless little choice, the kind of thing you barely even remember eating by lunch. But mundane and harmless are not the same thing at all, and the salt and fat numbers are some of the highest on the menu. There is also a timing problem that makes this item worse than it looks on paper. Eating this much salt and saturated fat first thing in the morning means your entire day starts from a deficit. Whatever you eat for lunch and dinner is now being added on top of a breakfast that already used up more than half your limits. Most people do not plan their meals this way. They simply eat what is convenient in the moment, which means a seemingly small decision quietly shapes the nutritional reality of your entire day. We are almost at number 1 now, and trust me, it is going to change the way you look at the entire menu board. But before we get there, if this video has already opened your eyes even a little bit, tap that like button right now. It genuinely helps this video reach more people out there who deserve to know all of this before their next visit. Number 1, the item that tops our entire list is the classic steak bake. It is one of the most recognizable products Greg's has ever made, and for a lot of people, it represents simplicity and comfort. That exact reputation is precisely why this item deserves the most scrutiny out of everything on this list. The name itself suggests steak, real chunks of tender beef sitting in a rich gravy, all wrapped inside flaky, golden pastry. The reality is that the filling is mostly a thick gravy, thickened using modified starch and stabilizing gums, with smaller pieces of beef scattered through it rather than the generous chunks the name implies. The actual beef content has been quietly reduced over the years, while the overall size and price have moved in the wrong direction. You're now paying noticeably more money for something that contains meaningfully less actual meat than it used to contain. On the nutrition side, a steak bake can carry close to 2 grams of salt and around 14 grams of fat. What makes this item earn the top spot is the sheer gap between expectation and reality. People genuinely believe they are eating a hearty, meat-forward pastry when they order this. What they are actually eating is closer to a gravy and starch product, with a modest amount of beef added for flavor. Ask yourself honestly, when was the last time you actually looked for a solid chunk of beef inside one of these bakes? Most people cannot remember, because the experience has always been shaped around the sauce, the pastry, and the warmth. That is not an accident of cooking. It is a deliberate choice about where the money in that product actually goes. So there you have it, 5 items that look completely harmless, but carry a much heavier cost than the price tag suggests. The chicken bake, the festive bake, the sausage, bean and cheese melt, the all-day breakfast range, and finally the steak bake. 5 very different products, but one common thread running underneath every single one of them. Ingredients designed first for shelf life, mass production, and marketing appeal, rather than genuine nutrition. Here is the deeper issue sitting underneath all of this. None of these 5 items are illegal in any way. Greg's has every legal right in the world to sell exactly what it sells, exactly how it sells it. The real problem here is the gap between what we assume we are eating and what we are genuinely eating. We walk in expecting comfort food, and we walk out having eaten something engineered on a production line. And this pattern is not unique to Greg's either, not even close. Almost every major food chain runs on the same formula. Cheaper ingredients dressed up behind clever, comforting names. Salt and fat levels quietly hidden behind branding. Portion sizes slowly shrinking year after year, while prices keep climbing steadily upward regardless. Greg's happens to be the version that most of us grew up with, which is why it stings just a little bit more. Now let's talk for a moment about how this all connects to money, because that part of the story is just as important. Think carefully about how these prices have moved over the years compared to what you are actually receiving. A sausage roll that used to cost well under £1 now costs considerably more while containing less meat. A steak bake that used to feel generously filled now feels visibly smaller in the hand while the price keeps rising. This is not simply inflation, this is quality quietly stepping backwards while price keeps marching steadily forward. If you have made it this far into the video, it tells me you actually care about what you're putting into your body. Hit subscribe if you have not already, because we are going to keep breaking down exactly what is hiding inside your food. The truth is, none of these 5 items are going to poison you if you eat one as an occasional treat. That is not the point. The point is awareness. The point is genuinely knowing what you're actually choosing every single time you walk to the counter. Food should genuinely nourish you, not just fill you up for 20 minutes before leaving you hungry again. The next time you find yourself standing in front of that familiar glass counter, you now have real information. You know exactly which 5 items on that menu carry the heaviest hidden cost in salt, saturated fat, and engineered ingredients. That knowledge changes absolutely everything about how you shop from this point forward. It means you are no longer choosing based purely on habit, convenience, or nostalgia alone. You are choosing with your eyes fully open, and that is a small shift, but it is also a genuinely powerful one. The goal of this video was to hand you back the one thing that clever branding quietly takes away: genuine choice. A choice made with full information, not one made on autopilot because a shopfront looked familiar. So the next time you're standing in front of that glass counter, pause for just 1 second. Remember what is inside it. Then decide, with your eyes open, whether it is genuinely worth it today. Sometimes the answer will still be yes. But at least now, it will be your decision, made with the full picture in front of you, not a decision made for you. Because once you truly understand what is sitting inside these items, you will never look at that menu board the same way again.